that's a really strange dot out there. That's very peculiar because it looks like a bicycle, but we were like, no, it's not a bicycle. We're in the middle of a salt flat in Bolivia, so it can't be a bicycle. It's just, there is just nothing here. It's a bicycle, it is a bicycle.
Yeah.
And then you were there.
Yeah,
Israel.
then we met you.
Depois de quase 2.000 quilômetros atravessando o Chile, incluindo o deserto do Atacama, eu cheguei em Oiagüe, uma das fronteiras com a Bolívia. Já era inverno e no altiplano as temperaturas chegavam a 10 graus negativos durante a madrugada. E aí você vai me perguntar, mas para que sofrer tanto assim, né, Israel? Pedalar nessa altitude e acampar com esse frio todo e sozinho? E a minha resposta vai ser, para chegar da maneira menos convencional em um dos lugares mais espetaculares do mundo, o Salar de Uyuni, o deserto de sal mais alto do planeta, e que me reservou uma surpresa no final. E a história da foto de hoje começa com essa aí. Aquela fronteira, além de dividir o Chile da Bolívia, também demarcava o fim do asfalto. Foi só cruzar para o outro lado que a estrada virou um misto de areia, pedra e sal. Eu ainda estava uns 3 dias de viagem até de fato entrar no Salar de Uyuni e como já era final do dia e ventava demais, eu achei essas ruínas aí para acampar e me proteger do vento. A noite estava perfeita até eu derramar a água que eu estava fervendo para fazer o jantar. Era a única que tinha e tive que dormir de barriga vazia depois de ter pedalado o dia inteiro. De mau humor, com fome, com sede, sofrendo os efeitos da altitude e para completar, no dia seguinte eu ainda errei o caminho e fui parar num vilarejo praticamente abandonado. Pelo menos me serviu para me abastecer de água e comida e ver umas vicunhas pelo caminho. Eu ainda pernoitei mais uma noite antes de chegar a Chuvica, uma das entradas do salar. E de repente, literalmente do nada, aquela estrada praticamente impedalável e difícil de se localizar deu lugar a uma imensidão branca. Parecia que eu estava entrando num outro planeta. Aquele céu azul, clima muito seco, dificuldade para respirar, sem nada no horizonte e um silêncio absoluto. E chegar ali de bicicleta, depois de ter saído do Brasil pedalando, ter atravessado a Cordilheira dos Andes, cruzado o deserto do Atacama, foi emocionante. E só de lembrar já me sinto em paz. Fazia muito frio, mas o dia estava super ensolarado, sem nenhuma nuvem no céu e com aquele estúdio nas alturas só para mim, eu aproveitei para fazer um ensaio fotográfico pedalando. E a minha foto favorita é essa aí, câmera no tripé, lente 50mm, abertura 1.8, ISO 100 e velocidade 1/8000. Aquela superfície branca funcionava como um rebatedor e a luz estava absolutamente perfeita. Então a edição foi super simples, eu mexi um pouquinho no contraste, nos highlights e nas sombras e subi de leve a saturação. Mas a melhor parte dessa história não é essa foto, é o que aconteceu depois dela.
It was just this amazing nothingness.
Yeah.
It was like being on another planet.
And when we looked in the horizon, it was just white, 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 and then it was like the blue sky.
This amazing crackling sound.
Yeah.
E aquele lugar te provoca, o silêncio, a falta de orientação, é como se você perdesse a visão e a audição. E mais importante do que seguir o GPS é confiar no seu caminho. E eu estava lá seguindo o meu, naquele deserto branco, sozinho, quando lá longe eu vi 2 pontinhos se deslocando.
And sometimes we would see like small dots and we would think, oh, there's a huge bus coming, but it would turn out that it was just a small rock because it was so difficult to kind of get an idea of distances because it was just almost two-dimensional.
Mas eu botei fé que eram 2 bicicletas e eu saí do meu caminho e pedalei naquela direção.
And immediately when we realized it was another cyclist, we just both turned in that direction and just started cycling towards that little dot. And we could kind of sense that that little dot was doing the same.
Yeah.
So instead of kind of crossing each other, we were kind of going now towards each other. And it was like, I get goosebumps right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it was just a really great feeling. Like you had this feeling of something that wanted to do the same as we did. Something wanted to meet us as well, but we didn't know exactly what it was until we came close and we could see, it is a bicycle, it is a bicycle.
Yeah.
Foi simplesmente surreal, porque apesar do Salar ser um destino super turístico, o lugar é imenso e não tem uma estrada em comum. Então, qual a chance de você encontrar dois cicloviajantes no meio daquela imensidão?
I think we were talking for like half an hour and we were going like, another direction, both of us, but it was just like we didn't want to leave.
We got to talk about, so where are you going? And we talked about where we're going, and we realized in some strange way that it didn't really matter where we were going because we were so much enjoying this moment together.
A gente se conectou instantaneamente. A conversa estava tão boa que
Let's camp together, It was like maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think everybody was just like, yes, we have to do that.
And
we
we
just jumped off the bikes and like, I remember, I think the first thing we did was we made coffee and then you start talking about life and about where you're from, what are your dreams, what are your goals for life, why are we here, did we go on this bicycle trip? And then we cooked a meal together and we shared that. And it's just like, food just tastes so much better when you share it, right?
Yeah.
And
especially when you put salt on it, you just grab it from the desert.
We just experienced like the most beautiful sunset we have ever seen in our whole life. And then we stood there and it was like 360 degrees sunset. It was so crazy because you could just see as long as you could.
E se já não bastasse esse encontro super especial, ainda por cima era aniversário da Marie.
I think this has just been the most beautiful birthday maybe I've ever had. Like waking up here in the Sala de Uyuni and with a new good friend, a friend for life.
I remember when we zipped open the tent in the morning and you were sitting there because it was so cold and Israel was kind of zipping his tent open but not too much and he was kind of peeping out and he was going, happy birthday Marie. And you were so happy.
Yeah, I was so happy. It was like, good morning.
O Kenneth e a Marie são dinamarqueses e eles viveram uma verdadeira aventura pedalando com fat bikes, saindo do Ushuaia e indo até o Alasca. E a gente virou grandes amigos, nos encontramos várias vezes, inclusive na América do Sul e também em Copenhagen, para onde eles voltaram justamente quando eu pedalava pela Escandinávia e, claro, fui lá fazer uma visitinha.
And we were so happy because we were coming back home and it was really a tough experience coming from almost 2 years living on the bikes and just being out there, out in nature. So we were in the middle of a busy city and a very square flat with walls and everything. And it was a bit intimidating actually. And we had somebody with us that kind of understood exactly how we felt and why we were missing the road so much. And we could kind of together with Israel kind of get into that feeling again of being on the road and making the transition back home a little bit smoother.
E a nossa amizade, mais de 4 anos depois, segue firme e forte, virou um dos maiores presentes dessa experiência que foi viajar o mundo de bicicleta por quase 3 anos.
And that's the cool thing about pictures or like memories in general. You keep them in your heart forever, and this one is definitely one of those.